Today we're discussing filament transmission distances in HueForge. All right, friends, let's start with a little bit of metaphor to spice up our understanding. Think of filament like ingredients to a sandwich. Every time you add another slice of bread, or in our case, a layer of filament, your sandwich becomes a little bit denser, a little bit thicker, and blocks out more light. The layers of filament are quite thin, about 0.08 millimeters each, but they stack up pretty quickly. Imagine holding your sandwich up to a light. With one or two slices, you might see some light coming through. But with each additional slice, the sandwich becomes more and more opaque. Now let's apply that same idea to our filament. Transmission distance is the thickness at which your filament sandwich doesn't let any more light through, no matter how many more layers you add. It's like adding more slices of bread to a sandwich that's already so dense, no more light can pass through it. But the sandwich metaphor might be a bit doughy. Let's try something else, shall we? Imagine the FilaScope as your tiny, pocket-sized observatory for filament transparency. Here's how it works. You print a FilaScope once in an opaque filament, ideally black. Then for each filament you want to test, print transmission discs at 100% infill and 0.2 millimeter layer height. Cut them apart and pop them into the eyepiece. Point the FilaScope towards a bright light source and look through it. The combined height of the discs needed to reach effective transmissivity is your transmission distance. The first step of the Swatch card method is to head to the Printables page linked in the description. Click on Downloads. This page can be a little overwhelming, but there are only 2 files you need to grab. Scroll down to .08 card format and download the 20-panel card. Next, scroll down to .08 card format modifiers and download the 20-panel card all-panel modifier. Once those are downloaded, open up your slicer of choice and load in the 2 models, the Swatch card and the modifier. Click Yes to load up the 2 files together. This lines them up for you. Then switch your profile to one with a layer height of 0.08 millimeters. Navigate to the Strength tab and set the top and bottom layers to 0. Make sure the infill is set to 100% and aligned rectilinear. Next, navigate to the Objects tab in the Process panel and right-click on the modifier file. Select Change Type and then click on Modifier. Change the color of the modifier to the color of the filament you're testing. Make sure the base is set to either white or black. Under the Per Object settings, change the wall loops of the modifier to 0. Optionally, rotate the model so the lines are all going in the same direction, and then finally slice and print the card. Now that the print is finished, let's take a look at the Swatch card. Here you can see the transmission distance is right around the end of the first row, where the color between the blocks becomes uniform. Using aligned rectilinear infill makes it much easier to spot the transmission distance point. There will be a spot if you tilt the card around in the light where some upper blocks seem to fuse in a continuous strip. That's where the filament is at its peak opacity. That is the transmission distance. Measure the first block of that strip. In other words, you'll see a gradient that fades into the solid color of the filament. The transmission distance is where that solid color starts. So to get your transmission distance, take a look at the square of solid color you've identified. Count up the number of spaces from that one to the first square, and then multiply that number by your layer height. So I'll count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So if we multiply 7 by our layer height, 0.08, we get a final transmission distance of 0.56 millimeters. Then multiply this number by 10. Now just drop this number into HueForge under the TD value for the filament you used and you're good to go. Well, that wraps things up for today. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a like and subscribe so you don't miss another video. Happy printing!